So if you take this stuff seriously, and if you take your gold and silver stacks seriously, you need to seriously consider what is your end game. Silver Forever checking in on the Accumulation Nation. Folks, today we are going to be talking about something that is extremely important, not just to you, but to your entire family, your friends, all your heirs, whoever is going to be inheriting your silver and gold stack when you die. Yeah, I know it sucks to hear it, but the fact is, the cold hard truth is that you are going to die. I'm going to die. We're all going to die one day. We don't want to put our families or our heirs into a position where they don't know how to handle what you've left behind in terms of this vast store of wealth in the form of silver and gold. The absolute worst case scenario is that you spend all of your time and your life energy converting your labor into fiat and then converting that into silver and gold. And then the moment that you die, your heirs offload this in a way that doesn't maximize the value that you've built into this storage of wealth in your gold and silver stack. The worst thing you can do is to ignore that reality and then kind of leave your heirs in a bad position where they either don't know how to handle your silver and gold stack that you leave behind, or worse yet, they get taken advantage of and they don't get to realize all of the gains that you have potentially set up for them simply because they're ignorant to the art of silver and gold and to how to best convert it back into fiat, which, let's face it, a lot of our heirs aren't going to want to hold their wealth in silver and gold. Like it or not, even if we've tried to convince them otherwise, many of them will just want to convert it immediately into fiat and spend it, and you're dead, so you don't have a say in this. Even if your intention is for your heirs to hold on to your silver and gold stack, you have to realize the majority of the time when people are selling entire collections to a local coin shop, or when things get offloaded at an estate sale, that's exactly what's happening. Grandpa's died, he's built this whole stack of silver and gold or a coin collection over time, and the heirs come in and they either want to split it up evenly amongst themselves, or they just don't care about the coins or the metals in the first place, and it gets converted back to fiat. Can you blame them? I can. Anyways, I'm not an attorney, I'm not a tax lawyer, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just sharing my own personal opinion about the best way to set up your heirs for success, because we're all going to die one day. Some of us aren't even going to make it to retirement age. It's best to set up these things in advance. For those of us who have been on Earth long enough, we've all seen circumstances where a family friend or a relative passes and they either haven't set up a will at all, they haven't updated their will in 2 decades. Circumstances change. You really have to keep up to date with this stuff to make sure that your wishes are honored. So the first thing that you need to consider, who will inherit this? Many of us might be married, we might have kids, and that makes the decision a little bit easier. In the absence of a formal will, your spouse will be first in line to inherit, then your children evenly, then back up to your parents if they have survived you. Of course, you can always customize what you would like to be inherited or passed on to friends or relatives, but you have to include that in a will, and in many cases, it needs to be typed, signed, witnessed, notarized. Again, I'm not an expert, I'm not a professional. You need to talk to professionals about this kind of thing. But just keep in mind that if you don't make these decisions for yourself, somebody else is going to. Now, what happens if you don't have a spouse or you don't have children? I've been asked this question in the comments before, and my take on it is you still have the capacity to really change someone's life with the wealth that you've amassed in your stack. That could be a family friend. That could be a niece or a nephew. That could be a local kid in the neighborhood who shows a great deal of promise, maybe wants to go to college but can't afford to go to college. That could be a charity of your choice. There are so many ways you can really make a lasting and meaningful impact. Now, some other things to keep in mind. Let's say that you pass on and you have a lot of debt to your name. Unfortunately, in many cases, what will happen is there will be an estate sale, and let's say your silver and gold gets sold off. the funds that are generated from that will go to paying off your debt. Now, that doesn't mean that something like credit card debt can be passed on or inherited by a child. That ends with you. But if you owe a company money and you have physical assets in your possession, those will get liquidated and used to pay off that debt. So that's definitely something that you should keep in mind. Of course, there are also implications with estate taxes or gift taxes, inheritance taxes. It's worth considering, especially as you get older. You're able to amass more wealth over that time. So, of course, as your stack grows, it becomes increasingly more important that you make sure all of these things are covered, because you don't want to pass on that responsibility to somebody else. Unfortunately, what happens a lot of times, if things aren't really clearly laid out in somebody's will, or in many cases, even if they are, you can find that there's a lot of familial disputes that come into play when, let's say, a patriarch of the family passes and now all of those assets are being inherited and redistributed. As a patriarch of your family, that is also a worst case scenario. You don't want your lack of responsibility or lack of communication to end up causing problems within the family that you helped to create. So if you take this stuff seriously, and if you take your gold and silver stacks seriously, you need to seriously consider the plan here. What is your end game? In an ideal world, my plan is to never sell any of my silver and gold. There's also just the reality that it's here to be sold in the event that you need to. If I am so fortunate to make it to the end of my life with all of this silver and gold still in the stack, I want to set up those inheriting my wealth with the knowledge, with the wherewithal to be able to liquidate it effectively. Now, I know a lot of us like to keep this stuff secret and we don't share this around with a lot of people. And I actually think that that's a really smart call, family and friends included. But there are certainly people in your life who need to know about your stack. First and foremost, if you have a spouse, they need to know about your stack. I know we all like to joke about hiding purchases from our wives and things of that nature, but a lot of the strength in a marriage comes from sharing everything, financially and otherwise. Your wife doesn't need to know every little detail about every little coin or bar that you have in the stack, but they do need to know some basics. Without an education, how is somebody supposed to know that this coin is worth 25 or 30 bucks, whereas this coin is worth $2,000? To us, it seems like second nature as stackers. But to the uninitiated, how are they supposed to know that? It should not come as a surprise if somebody doesn't know that. So one of the things that you could do for yourself and for those who stand to inherit your stack is to just create a simple Excel sheet. What you might expect in terms of a percentage premium. Or maybe you can have on your Excel sheet the spot price at a given date and show the expected values of each of these coins on that date. And then make sure that there's a note that says these values are going to change with spot price. Maybe you direct them to your red book or your blue book and show them how to look up different prices of different coins. One thing that I know might cause a problem within my stack is that I have a lot of junk silver coins, but fortunately I've been able to pick out some really valuable numismatic, historic 90% constitutional coins from those. And I always keep them separate because realistically, if somebody is to inherit that junk silver stack, they're just going to sell it all in bulk and somebody else is going to luck out and find those numismatic coins in the same way that I found them. If you're ever wondering how silver coins show up when you're coin roll hunting at the bank, that's how it happens. People inherit a collection, they inherit a stack, they don't know any better, and it goes back into circulation. Another important consideration, don't hide your stack too well. Try to hide your stack in a place that's not terribly obvious. If you have a safe sitting in your closet, most burglars are going to know that that's where the goodies are. But if you have a decoy safe and then you actually have your stack in some less noticeable location, then they might miss that in the course of a 10-minute burglary. But if you put your whole stack into a box of clothes labeled thrift store and it's out in the garage when you die, there's a solid chance that when people are getting rid of all your stuff, that stack's just gonna go to the Goodwill, and next thing you know, your family's out tens of thousands of dollars worth of metals that you managed to accumulate over your lifetime. I know this isn't fun, but we all have to think about this stuff. Okay, so my last little bit of advice here, have a trusted friend, have a trusted local coin shop, have a trusted expert that you can refer your family to in the event that you die. No matter how much you try to tell your wife about, this Britannia being very valuable, but not quite as valuable as this American Eagle, a lot of that is just going to get lost along the way. Imagine if she's telling you little hints about her hobby every once in a while. Is that going to make you an expert? No. But what happens if you have a close friend who is also an amateur precious metals expert like you? Would you be willing to trust that person to help your family liquidate your wealth in the event of your untimely demise? If you don't, well, maybe you should really consider finding a partner, finding a buddy that you can have a mutual agreement with to take care of the other's family when they die. Not financially support them, but help them to liquidate this in the most efficient, effective, and profitable way possible. And I could talk about dying all day, but let's talk about living, folks. I just passed 2,000 subscribers on the channel. In celebration, I created my very first limited edition Silver Forever stickers. So a few lucky people who have had an influence on the channel will be receiving theirs in the mail. I'm definitely going to hold on to some of these for myself. But if you want a chance to get your very own sticker, go ahead and leave a comment below and use the phrase Silver Forever. Thanks for stopping by, folks. If you've stuck around to the end of the video, you are the serious stacker, so take this issue seriously. Also, sticking around to the end gives you perks like this, so make sure that you comment down below Silver Forever for your chance to get one of these limited edition stickers. Silver Forever, out.